Hi, welcome to the Open Alliance for Cloud Adoption Cloud Maturity Model IT Strategy Seminar. My name is William Duplay. I am a digital strategist for Liam Associates, and I will explain how to use the OACA Cloud Maturity Model tools and develop an IT strategy. I will start by covering the seminar's goals. Then we'll give you an overview on the OACA's perspective on hybrid IT, describe the OACA IT transformation planning process, and go through a detailed example and explain the 8 steps to that process. The goals of this seminar are to understand what is hybrid IT, what is the OACA IT transformation planning process, and how do you develop an IT transformational plan using the OACA Cloud Maturity Model version 4.0 toolset. Let's start by giving a little overview on what is the Cloud Maturity Model. The Open Alliance for Cloud Adoption Maturity Model was designed to help enterprises understand the different dimensions required to implement cloud services. It was developed to help you define goals for your hybrid IT transformation plan and corresponding cloud strategy, to determine what is a targeted maturity level that will be needed to be able to implement specific use cases in your business, to be able to develop a roadmap of projects that will be necessary to raise the maturity level of each domain and to implement those use cases, and to steer priorities for enabling cloud services usage and adoption. OACA Perspective on Hybrid IT. Let's start with a definition of hybrid IT. Hybrid IT is the use of traditional internal IT systems integrated with cloud environments. This includes the participation of external partners, systems, and services simultaneous with the participation of traditional internal IT processes and systems. A hybrid IT operating model focuses on delivering services from multiple sources. These sources can include traditional systems of record, private cloud providers, public cloud providers, and SaaS providers. It is designed so business developers or users can go to one place to order the services from any of these providers, and the IT operating model will facilitate the provisioning of those services. There are 5 components to the IT operating model: hybrid delivery, hybrid application workloads, hybrid service management, hybrid DevOps, and hybrid infrastructure. We'll start by explaining each one of these 5 major areas and domains of the OACA Cloud Maturity Model that maps to each area. Hybrid delivery has an overall responsibility to provide one-stop shopping for a customer. To accomplish it, it facilitates 4 roles. These roles are service provider, service broker, business innovation advisor, and the ability to enable the enterprise to be able to be operated by a hybrid IT operating model. It delivers very specific functions. These functions include the ability to enable an IT environment to be able to provide service from any source, to facilitate a single portal and a single service delivery process, to be able to facilitate chargebacks, to be able to facilitate governance and approval process, to optimize the sources of cloud services so purchasing can manage those cloud services well, and to be able to contribute to the transformation of the culture and skills of users and developers. Hybrid delivery enables citizen integrators to be able to secure services without the complexity of ensuring they adhere to the policies of the firm. The services provided on the portal are all approved by IT and meet the policies of the firm. This provides much better control and simplifies the overall purchasing and delivery of services. Hybrid application workload. Hybrid application workload describes the overall application ecosystem that delivers services to a business. In a hybrid IT paradigm, applications can be delivered from public cloud services, SaaS services, and traditional IT organizations, but they operate as one application ecosystem. There are 4 roles of hybrid application workload. 1. They facilitate the integration of application delivery options to meet the user's workload. 2. They provide an integrated platform as a service to power citizen integrators and project developers. 3. They provide data and information as a service. 4. They provide an integration fabric that is necessary to reduce the complexity of an IT application. The functions delivered by hybrid application workload includes 1. Facilitating workload analysis. 2. Integrating software as a service with enterprise workloads. 3. Managing APIs. 4. Delivering artificial intelligence services. 5. Providing local data storage for software as a service. 6. Ensuring compliance of applications to enterprise security policies. And 7. Enabling the ability for applications. Hybrid DevOps. The role of hybrid DevOps is to deliver rapid applications to users for traditional and cloud-native workloads. Second, to facilitate continuous integration and development. Third, enforce consistent standards of software development across the enterprise. And fourth, ensure compliance to security and privacy policies within the enterprise. The functions delivered by hybrid DevOps include 1. Facilitating cloud-native software development. 2. Developing cloud-native applications on a standardized integration platform as a service. 3. Improving the overall software development agility. 4. Facilitating traditional application acceleration. 5. The construction of microservices and container-based applications. And 6. The implementation of Six Sigma and lean quality improvement practices throughout application development. Hybrid service management. There are 5 roles to hybrid service management. The first one is to ensure the security of applications, infrastructure, data, facilities, and networking. Second, they facilitate a unified management of IT services. Third, it facilitates a unified service level management of those services. Fourth, ensures that information lifecycle management policies are enforced and enabled. And fifth, they ensure that the enterprise receives IT services that operate at a 100% availability, always fast, never slow, always secure, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. The role of hybrid infrastructure is to integrate multiple infrastructure as a service supply into one integrated supply, is to provision infrastructure using API control, to provision infrastructure using a development platform, and to optimize infrastructure options and facilitate bursting between infrastructure suppliers. The functions delivered by hybrid infrastructure include delivering a single service portal to all infrastructure services, to have the ability to deploy hybrid infrastructure, the ability to deliver bursts on capacity when required, the ability to optimize infrastructure to be able to reduce the cost, to enable container-based infrastructure, to provision elastic storage services, and enable locations for all data across the enterprise using a global file management system. Hybrid infrastructure also facilitates the ability to enable data encryption at rest, in transit, and at destination. Here is a map of the hybrid IT operating model to the Cloud Maturity Model 4.0 domains. OACA IT Transformation Planning Process Overview. An IT transformation journey is like building a new building for an enterprise to operate in. There are 4 views to that building that we recommend be developed to successfully create an IT transformation plan. These 4 views are 1. Business view. This answers the question, why do we need a new building? 2. The functional view. This answers the question, what will a new building give my enterprise? 3. The technical view. This answers the question, how should the new building be built and with what materials? And 4. The implementation view. This defines what is the work that will be needed to be done to build the new building. We recommend this approach to building your IT strategy based on our experience with other companies. All too often, corporations will start their transformation by looking at the technical view alone. This has led companies to implement technologies that nobody wants or nobody needs, and not implement technologies that they do need. I will walk through the development of these 4 views in the rest of the seminar. Historically, IT transformational plans were built on a 3-year window of implementation. This approach has less value now, and the overall transformation project may still take as long as 3 years to accomplish. However, it cannot be implemented using that approach. In a cloud paradigm, we can order a new service and have it delivered in 5 minutes. Taking 3 years to transform IT services is no longer a viable solution for companies to consider. The OACA recommends the implementation of agile software development techniques in the development of an IT strategy. We recommend the implementation of an iterative approach based on the implementing 3-month sprints. The 4 views that we mentioned in the previous slides are still developed, but the functions that are implemented in 3-month sprints. This drawing illustrates this concept. The business view is developed first and may have a 1 to 3 year horizon. However, we recommend that the business view be reviewed with each turn of the sprint implementation plan. The functional view is also developed with a 1 to 3 year horizon, but only the highest priority use cases are identified for provisioning. This subset of use cases are implemented in a 3-month sprint. At the end of the 3-month term, the business view goals and the functional goals are reviewed again, and the highest priority use cases that are necessary to meet the business goals at that time are implemented in the next sprint. This ensures that the IT transformation plan stays very close to the current demands of the business. OACA IT Transformation Planning Process Example. Step 1 is to develop the business goals and KPIs. This is the first step in the business view. If you are developing an IT strategy for a corporation, we recommend that you use the shareholder value categories as a basis for identifying your goals and KPIs. If you're developing an IT strategy for a government, we recommend that you use the stakeholder value categories as the basis of identifying your goals and your KPIs. Let's review each one. This is the shareholder value map. A shareholder is concerned with 4 things and measures a company's ability to deliver value based on these 4 areas. They are revenue growth, operating margin, asset efficiency, and market and customer expectations. A hybrid IT strategic plan must clearly support the business's ability to influence one or all of these 4 areas. Stakeholder value is different. Governments are quite different. They are not businesses. They do not make money. They spend money. However, they have a great responsibility to create an environment which enables their constituents to have a higher quality of life. Constituents are the stakeholders in the government, and there are 4 areas that they measure a government's performance. These 4 areas are their ability to do what they say. That is the political value. It is measured by their ability of the government to accomplish the outcomes or the outputs of their administration. Secondly, the ability to manage the public purse. This is their ability to manage the financial value or the social public value. And are they able to reduce the cost of government, or did they spend their money wisely, is the key measure. The third is quality of services. This is the experience that a constituent has with the government. And lastly, public trust. This is the ability of the people to feel secure that their government is doing a good job and it supports re-election. When developing an IT strategic plan for a government, one must define the goals in one of these 4 areas. A hybrid IT strategic plan must clearly support the government's ability to influence one or all of these 4 areas. Here's an example of business goals. When developing an IT strategic plan, if an enterprise cannot produce a set of clear business goals with measures, it's best to help them develop this first. Without clearly identifying what the corporation needs to do to support its shareholders, an IT transformational plan will not likely succeed. I've assisted in over 50 companies and governments globally to develop their IT strategic plans, and I've learned that companies that do not do this step well generally are not that successful in their IT transformation initiative. Closely related to business goals are the measures of the IT strategic plan, or the key performance indicators. These measurements need to be reviewed and updated on each sprint of the implementation plan. The KPIs should be tightly connected to the business goals, and the changes in the KPIs measures are reflected in each quarterly sprint. It is how you will know that the IT transformation plan is successfully being implemented. There are three categories of KPIs I recommend you consider. These are projects. These example KPIs are the measures of the project process itself. Example, are the projects delivered on time? The second is labor. A good example KPI here is the ratio of labor spent on maintenance activities versus innovation work. And the third is cost. These KPIs generally can be measured by the percentage of the cost of IT to company revenue, or the number of applications, or the number of data centers that have been transformed or eliminated. I also recommend that the compensation packages of senior executives, both IT and business management, be tied directly to these KPIs if you want your transformational plan to be successful. Step 2 defines the hybrid IT benefits and new business capabilities you want to happen in your IT transformational plan. Sometimes these new business capabilities are called business scenarios. There are 12 areas of business benefits or scenarios that I examine when developing an IT transformational plan. These include the impact on cost, the ability to implement services faster, the ability to implement IoT technologies to accomplish things like predictive maintenance, the ability to exploit digital presence technology to facilitate things like customer improvement, or customer relationship improvement, and the ability to address seasonal demand on the IT systems. When I'm doing a workshop, I present examples to the IT strategy development team of what exactly this new capability looks like using case studies. I find that representatives of the business respond well to business scenario examples that use the new technology, much better than just talking about the technology. It also helps the organization better understand what success looks like to the business. The business does not necessarily care about the technology. They care about a change in an outcome in a business process. Our role is to link the implementation of the new technology and show the direct impact on a business outcome. It's critical in this step to define what is the new business capability required. When we build a new house, we need to ask ourselves, what's wrong with the old house? What will the new house give me that the old house did not? This is the goal of the step. The better you define the new business capabilities and the more specific your functional use cases can be defined to support this new capability, the more successful your transformational plan will be. The new business scenario capabilities will demand new services from your IT organization. The first category of functional use cases that I recommend you consider are application use cases that will be necessary to support these new business capabilities. Step 3 focuses on identifying and prioritizing the use cases that the hybrid IT operating model must deliver. The first activity is to identify the application use cases. Here is an example of the application use cases that are needed to support a new business capability. I draw your attention to application use case number 3. It does not just say implement IoT cloud services. It specifically focuses on the ability to implement predictive maintenance in process number 2. The second activity is to identify use cases that the hybrid IT operating model must deliver. Here are a few examples. Hybrid delivery must provide the ability to broker services from private cloud, SaaS, public cloud, traditional delivery, and enable chargebacks. Here's another one under service management. Service management must provide the ability to do end-to-end service monitoring on a hybrid application ecosystem. On the Use Cases tab, you will find common use cases sorted by each domain of the hybrid IT operating model. We recommend that you review these common use cases and determine if any of them are relevant, and add your own that are needed to support your own enterprise's new business capabilities. In addition to identifying whether the use case is relevant, we also recommend that you define what is the time frame you will need that use case and at what would be the frequency of use of that particular use case. That will help you prioritize which use cases should be implemented in each sprint. For example, use case number 1, create an integrated hybrid cloud service catalog and portal, is defined here as being needed in 6 months and it will be used daily by hundreds of users. That's a high priority use case, in contrast to use case number 7, where it says a SaaS service needs to be adopted to be used by business units to replace traditional application workloads. This is viewed as a use case that is not needed for 18 months and will only be used quarterly. Although it's important, I wouldn't automate this use case or start with this. This is a further description of the common use cases in the hybrid infrastructure area. This is a further description of common use cases in the hybrid service management area. The following 3 slides can be found under the Services Required tab. This is a very detailed description of IT services that we suggest you consider when reviewing the use cases to support your new business scenarios. It helps you identify what specific IT services are going to be needed to be able to support a business's use case. I recommend that you review these services and determine the implementation time frame. I also recommend that you consider whether this should be delivered on a private cloud or a public cloud. Although public cloud has caught the interest of most enterprises, some are now returning to a private cloud delivery model due to the costs of running in a public cloud model. If you have high volume transactions that are relatively constant across a time frame, you may find a private cloud solution may end up being a much more cost-effective approach than getting your services from a cloud service. Step 4 focuses on developing the targeted hybrid IT architecture that you will need to support the use cases. In this step, we define the technical view of your new hybrid IT operating model. This graphic is an example of a hybrid IT technical architecture. Each use case will demand that some of these new technologies be implemented. However, it is not necessary to implement all of the technical components before implementing a single use case. It is better to implement technologies to support specific use cases as required. This particular architecture shows the technology components that need to be added or to support the use cases in each of the 3-month sprints. So the implementation plan will include technology projects along with the use case implementation projects to support the application use cases in that 3-month sprint. Step 5 is the first step in the implementation view development. We will review each of the 31 domains of the Cloud Maturity Model and identify which areas need to be changed to support the use cases in 3-month sprints. The Cloud Maturity Model version 4.0 contains a spreadsheet for each of the 31 domains. When the assessment is completed, it will produce a spider diagram that looks like the one seen in this graphic. The OACA Cloud Maturity Model has 6 phases. Unlike other maturity models that start at CMM 1, the Cloud Maturity Model starts at CMM 0. We decided to start with a 0 level because we found many of our customers did not even have an initial or ad hoc approach to the domain. The assessment tool has identified outcomes in each one of the 31 domains in process, people, and technology areas. and it describes the outcomes that are expected in each one of the phases identified in this graphic. We decided to use this approach since it made it easier to develop implementation plans. I have found that many IT organizations find maturity models challenging. There's a tendency to want to be better than you need to be to achieve a specific use case. We recommend that you force yourself to decide, do I really need to change this domain to implement this use case? And secondly, if I do need to change it, what is the minimum change that I can do to be able to implement this use case? Taking this approach will force you to reduce the amount of work necessary to implement your new business applications and business capability. Strategic planning is actually a military term, and any good military planner knows that to have a successful battle, you need to identify all the barriers that need to be removed to accomplish your objectives. In an IT strategic plan, we need to identify the barriers that will keep us from implementing our use cases. There are 5 major categories of barriers that need to be reviewed when determining what will inhibit the transformation of a domain in the maturity model. These 5 categories are: 1. Value, culture, and beliefs. 2. Management, leadership, and measurement systems. 3. Policy and IT governance issues. 4. Organization, job skill issues. 5. Technology, process, and infrastructure issues. When you are assessing each domain, you will be asked what are the barriers that inhibit you from accomplishing this transformation. Record the barriers in the maturity model assessment worksheet. I've described in more detail each barrier type on this slide. During a workshop, I give out this page to attendees to help them think through the type of obstacles that will need to be eliminated or will inhibit their success. The implementation view must include projects to eliminate the top barriers that are identified. The process for identifying these types of barriers is very mechanical. It involves reviewing the barriers and identifying which ones are most common. Then developing a project charter to describe the strategy to eliminate that barrier. A successful IT transformational plan will eliminate the barriers up front before attempting to progress with the rest of the project. A Pareto report is the most effective way to illustrate the top barriers that need to be addressed. In this particular example, we can see that skills, planning and prioritization, and cultural transformation are the #1 obstacles that need to be addressed. There are many barriers that have nothing to do with technology that will directly impact your ability to be successful in your IT strategic plan. One common one is resistance to change in moving to cloud technologies. I've outlined a couple of issues that I've seen that illustrates the resistance to change in this graphic. Developers love the speed and service and provision of a public service, but IT is concerned about their existing investments and what they will do with all the hardware if everyone goes to a public service. Another one is business units love the speed and flexibility of a SaaS service, but IT is concerned about security, compliance, management, service management, data privacy. Another one, both business and developers love the self-service function of public cloud services, but IT is concerned about losing their job and losing control. These are just a few of the non-technical issues that your IT strategic plan must have projects to address or will not likely be successful. The OACA did a research study last year. We asked our customers, what did they wish they had known about their cloud provider before they bought them? It was a very enlightening document. I've highlighted a few observations here. One was, I wish I'd had a financial model that would help me identify the cost, both increase and reduction in the impact on my corporation as a whole. 2, I wish I had identified in advance what remediation exists when the SaaS provider does not deliver the expectations I need. A third one is, I wish I knew that often CPU, storage, and network elements are throttled artificially in various tiers, resulting in lower performance than my own on-premise equipment and forcing me to buy a higher CPU level. My best advice is I can give you at this point is let the buyer beware. There are many significant impacts on your existing IT environments when moving to a hybrid IT operating model. I recommend that you read the OACA Cloud Adoption Survey. It will provide you with many good solutions to address barriers when planning your IT strategy. Hybrid IT Strategy Assessment Domain Analysis. There are 31 domains in version 4.0 of the Cloud Maturity Model. I will illustrate how to use that model to assess your current state and identify what changes may be required to implement your use cases. I wish to reiterate that when conducting a maturity model assessment, always focus on what changes will be required for the use cases you intend to implement in a specific sprint. I have found you need to continually reinforce this concept with your team because of creeping excellence syndrome. Everyone wants it to be much better than it really needs to be to make it work. Let's take a look at one example. I've chosen culture to illustrate how to use the tools because in every project I've done, culture has been an area that demands change. Culture contains the mindset and behavior pattern of IT and the business staff. There are significant changes needed in most IT organizations in the cultural area. The benefits of a transformed culture is that business and IT start looking for opportunities for the business to grow and become competitive and stop looking at how to control their historical way of doing things. In a workshop, I will provide slides to illustrate what a transformed culture looks like. And I do that, or a transformed state looks like in any of the domains. So the IT strategy team has a much better idea of what a transformed state looks like or how it operates. Here's an example. A culture that supports a hybrid IT operating model has transformed from being internally focused or inwardly focused to externally focused. Transformed from being systems management oriented to service management oriented, from competency driven to service driven, from execution management to commercial management, from efficiency driven to value driven, from budget driven to value model driven, from being technologists to being advisors, from being developers to being assemblers, and the overall cultural has moved from a low trust, high process culture to a high trust, low process culture. Now, during the workshop, I will discuss what this looks like so the team begins to understand the problem before they begin assessing the questions. The first step in the assessment is to determine if this domain needs to be changed at all. The key to that is to evaluate the key question. On each tab in each domain, there is one question that is highlighted in yellow. It's called the key question. During the workshop, I will drive the team through all 31 domains. Within 2 to 3 hours, I will have them evaluate only the key questions. This quickly identifies which domains will require more in-depth assessment. I present a slide like the one you see here and ask them to read through it and decide where they are and where they need to be to accomplish the use cases before them. I continue to reinforce the goal is to be minimally compliant and accomplishing the use case, and that they do not need to be a CMM 5. If they agree that no changes are required in that particular domain, no further assessment is conducted. If they as a group decide that they need to make a change from CMM 0 to CMM 1, I will identify an owner in the workshop who will facilitate the completion of the detailed assessment questions and provide it back on the worksheet to me within 2 days. This does not slow down the workshop and generally brings the subject matter experts who really understand the problem to better complete the actual assessment questions. As I mentioned, there are questions in process, people, and technology that need to be evaluated and answered. In addition, we recommend that you identify any barriers to accomplishing the transitions to each one of these questions. All of this is captured in the spreadsheet and can be used later to identify the top barriers to transformation. This is the last page in detailed questions in the cultural domain. For each domain where transition is required, the next step is to write a project charter. A project charter describes the outcomes and deliverables that will be needed to facilitate the transformation of that particular domain. This slide and the following slide describes the project charter for the transformation of the culture domain from level 0 to level 5. It contains the work breakdown structure and the barriers and the deliverables by control questions as specified in the OACA model. A good project charter can be given to a project manager who can quickly develop the solid project plan to facilitate the transformational plan. This is page 2 of the Cultural Transformation Project Charter. Step 7 focuses on determining what is the cost of the hybrid IT transformation project and what are the benefits of actually making this change. Now that you've identified the true amount of work that will be required to facilitate the transformation, you're in a much better place to build up a good cost-benefit model. The Cost-Benefit Analysis tabs provides you with a starting point to build your business case. There are 2 categories of benefits that we recommend you examine: tangible benefits and intangible benefits. This slide describes the tangible benefits. This is the second page of the tangible benefits. Intangible benefits are generally seen in new capabilities to the business. For example, if you're able to change the time it takes to close your year-end books from 1 month to 1 day, that would be an intangible benefit. What would the value of that be to your CFO if you could do that? What would it do to expectations on the market if you were able to report earlier than others? Often intangible benefits identify major contributions to the business. Also, intangible benefits often identify benefits that benefit everyone. In many transformation projects, we have found that people will benefit from it, but no one will pay for it. Intangible benefits help you see the visibility of this type of scenario. The next step is to identify the upfront costs of transforming to a hybrid IT operating model. It involves all the costs of setting up the private cloud, the public cloud interfaces, the migration costs, and everything that's involved in migrating from an internal IT environment to a public cloud service. The next category costs are the public cloud reoccurring costs. These can be very expensive. Some public cloud services have no ingress charge, but they have an egress charge. So you have to pay every time you want data to be removed from their service. This can be expensive. In another company, they decided to move their backup service to the cloud, only to find that they needed to increase their network bandwidth to make use of it. This was another unexpected reoccurring cost. The last area of cost is the termination cost. This is how much it will cost to get out of that public cloud service if you want to get out. I've heard some public cloud services called Hotel California. You can check in, but you can't check out. It's very important to determine how easy it is to migrate your data, what form will that data be in, when will you be able to get that data, amongst many other questions you have to ask. These are all termination costs. The last area of costs are the IT operating model transformation costs. Now that you've done your maturity assessment, you'll be able to determine how much work will be required to change your IT operating model. These are all costs that your new IT project will attract. Step 8 is to develop a hybrid IT transformational plan that includes the projects necessary to implement your new application use cases, the transformation projects necessary to transfer the domains that require the change in the maturity model, and any projects you need to eliminate the barriers. Here's an example of a high-level transformational plan. You'll notice that there is a category of projects that are in red. These are the barrier elimination projects. They need to be done first. The remainder of the projects need to be done in sequence, but there is an interdependence between them. A project manager is necessary to build out a good precedence map and project plan to coordinate all the interdependencies between the projects. To assist you in your IT transformational plans, I recommend that you review 5 other documents from OACA. The first is the Cloud Maturity Model Executive Summary. Second, the Cloud Maturity Model Usage Model. Third, the Cloud Maturity Model version 4.0 worksheets. Fourth, the Hybrid IT Barriers and Challenge White Paper. And 5, the Cloud Adoption Framework. Thank you for attending this session. If you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to write me or any of the other members of the OACA. We look forward to assisting you in your transformation to a hybrid IT operating model.